What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Week 5 MLS 5-a-side. We got a lot going on this weekend. International duty as well, with the United States beating Mexico 2-0. We're not going to talk about that. We're just going to talk about the MLS weekend that was. That probably got lost in the shuffle a little bit just because of all that, and we're getting a little bit of fatigue. You know, there was, I believe Matt Doyle said there was about 100 players out for international duty this window in MLS, which is pretty wild. So we got to see a lot more depth and a lot more different players than maybe we had seen before earlier this season. So it was a pretty fun weekend. I will say I turned 29 this weekend. I feel very washed. I feel very very slow today. That's why the video's coming out a little bit later. I just fiddled around trying to zoom out the camera for longer than I really want to admit, because I tried to download 2 different apps for a stupid webcam to be able to zoom out, because of course you need an app for that. It needs to be able to send you notifications for a stupid webcam that you have. So bottom line is neither app worked. I got angry. I started screaming. Mello came in, walked out, checked in to see, yo, what's going on, dude? Can you relax? What is your problem? He's used to this by now. We got that all out. It helped my mood to put on this dope Live Breathe Football sweatshirt, though. I will say, gotta point that out. Starting fresh this year of 29 before I can transition to over 30 soccer. One more year. I feel like I'm there already. I feel like a lot of over 30s can run by me anyway. So, all right, let's get into MLS 5-a-side Week 5. MLS 5-a-side number 1. The LA Galaxy are making a very strong case to top my MLS watchability rankings, right? So they beat Sporting Kansas City 3-2 this weekend. They went down 2-0 in the first half, a couple set pieces, some kind of shocking defending, to be quite honest, pretty soft. And then they came back and in a 10-minute span in the second half scored 3 goals, and they won 3-2. The Galaxy are extremely fun, and again, to top the watchability rankings for me is generally a good thing. That means you're fun. That means you're probably pretty good, but you don't necessarily always want to finish first, because usually that comes with a fatal flaw. This Galaxy team has a fatal flaw. Let's go with the star power though first, before I'm gonna hit you with a few too many numbers. Star power, Ricky Pooch, say it plenty of times. He's one of the best players in MLS. Joseph Pansel is looking like one of the best wingers in MLS, and those two players fit together so very well. Gabriel Peck made his first start. He's looking very encouraging. Diego Fagundes is better this year than he was last year. And Dejan Joveljic is tied for the league leading goals. That's all good. That's all why that they're going to be high up on my watchability rankings whenever I get to it. Hopefully within the next month. We'll see. But the Galaxy have 12 goals for and 9 goals against after 5 matches. That's the most combined goals for and against per game in MLS. They're 9th in possession at 54%, but they have a bigger explosiveness this year than years past. Thank you, Joseph Pansel. The possession isn't ponderous like it kind of has been in the past, or some possession-heavy teams that aren't that much fun to watch just because it's a lot of sideways. It is not much urgency. This team is not that. They are trying to attack. They're 3rd in direct attacks in MLS, which is interesting to me. I figured that they would rank highly on that, but I also figured their possession-based ethos might limit that. So again, this is a team that, while they hold possession and want to keep the ball, they're also looking for opportunities to attack. It's not just possession for possession's sake. It's possession to break teams down, and if they have the chance to go, they go. And that's a lot of fun for me. They're 1st in expected goals at 11.39, and they're 1st in big chances created. Now for the bad stuff, which makes it fun for neutrals, they're 27th out of 29 in shots against, and they're tied for 29th in errors leading to goals. This team is very good in attack and not so good in defense. That's as simple as you can put it. I think that it's going to get better with Gaston Brugman being able to play more, as they're kind of slow playing him to start the season. I think Maya Yoshida is good. I don't necessarily love him and Martin Cáceres as your 2 starting center backs, but again, like I've said in weeks past, Jalen Neal will be back at some point. Mickey Amane has helped a lot. Again, the goalkeeping situation has been less than ideal. Their expected goals against does not nearly match their actual goals against, and that's going to be something to watch and worry about as the season goes on. But again, it makes it more fun for neutrals if they're conceding goals. They should have more points than they do already. They have not lost yet, which is very good for this team. Big news here. Not losing it in soccer is pretty important. That's what you come to this channel for some incredible, great insights like that. But LA Galaxy is a very fun team to watch. And again, I think I'm going to make it easy for you. If there's a few games on at once, you got to be thinking long and hard about putting the Galaxy on your main screen or only screen if you're a normal human being. MLS 5-a-side number 2. Denis Bouanga is back in the goals. Bouanga scored his first 2 goals of the season in LAFC's 5-0 thrashing of Nashville. He's back, folks, but he never left. I mean, look at these stats as I pull them up here. 99th percentile in everything this season. Small sample size, yes, obviously. We're only, 5 weeks into the season. But he's 99th percentile in every attacking statistic. I was saying, I've been arguing with my wonderful Apple TV extra time producer, Anders, about Denis Bouanga, and he's on the side of, he overperformed his expected goals last year. There was too many excellent individual efforts that aren't as repeatable, and it was worried about whether he was going to regress to the mean. And I do think that there will be some sort of regression to the mean. You can't outperform your expected goals by as much as he did. But I think that he's going to regularly outperform, maybe not to the extent that he did last year, because he's a high-quality player. He has those special moments. He can score with both feet. And again, him being on penalty duties is going to help his goals. In 2024, he's second in MLS in expected goals so far at 3.5, and now he has 2 goals. So he's not trailing his expected goals by very much. He'll be fine. He's had 5 shots that have hit the post or crossbar this season. 5 shots that hit the crossbar post. It's unlucky as well, right? So Denis Bouanga is going to be fine. I think that he's going to be productive no matter what this team looks like, but particularly so if and when a DP number 9 comes in, particularly if it's Olivier Giroud, as I hope and again as they hope as well. In 2023, on that overperformance, he had 25 goals in the regular season and postseason combined. That was on 17 XG. So that's a big overperformance. In the regular season, he overperformed his expected goals third most in MLS, behind only Alan Pulido and Duncan McGuire. But again, I think finishing is a skill, and I am there with expected goals and looking at generalities. That, for the most part, players can't overperform. And again, I don't think that it's sustainable, the exact rate he had last year, but that's no reason to knock him. You should be celebrating him for playing well last year. But again, I think that his finishing ability warrants an expectation that it's going to be better than the average expected goals, right? That's what special players do. That's why they paid $5 million or whatever the transfer fee was to get him. That's why they gave him a new contract after 18 months, because he was the Golden Boot winner last year. He's a special player. Bouanga is going to be great again this year. Speaking of players who might be great, MLS 5-a-side number 3, Lewis Morgan, revenge game in Red Bull's dominance over Inter Miami. Plus, we're going to have a little Julian Hall talk. Anyway, we'll start with Morgan. The Red Bulls beat Inter Miami 4-0 at Red Bull Arena on Saturday in a nice afternoon downpour in North Jersey. I was there. There was flood warnings pretty much all across northern New Jersey. It made it hell to try to get into the stadium. My pants, rain jacket, hat, everything lost the battle to Mother Nature very, very quickly trying to walk into the game. So I can't imagine how brutal it was for the Miami players to play through this. Red Bull players as well, but, I was joking with a couple people that if the Red Bulls could pick their ideal weather pattern, it might look a little bit like Saturday, whatever makes it even harder for the other team to pass, whatever makes it harder for the other team to deal with, wind and rain and always looking down and trying to clear water out of your eyes and everything else. The Red Bulls looked pretty normal, pretty natural in this weather. This suits their game style. Lewis Morgan was awesome. He had 3 goals, and Dante Van Zier had 4 assists, which became, I believe, the 8th player in MLS history to do that. That was incredible. The 2 of them dominated. It was a really impressive game for the Red Bulls without Emil Forsberg. Going into the game, all of the talk was about the players who wouldn't be there. Messi, who was supposed to be on international duty but got injured so couldn't do that either, wasn't there. Emil Forsberg, Red Bull star, he was on international duty. He wasn't there. Well, guess who was? Lewis Morgan. He started his MLS career with Inter Miami. He was one of the lone bright spots over their first 2 seasons, was traded to the Red Bulls for, $1.2 million in GAM, I believe. It was a really big haul, particularly at that time. I think it was record-breaking at the time before Paul Arriola got traded, a month and a half later. But this is the Lewis Morgan that we kind of forgot about. In 2022, his first season with the Red Bulls, he was their player of the season. He was easily their best player. Last year, he missed just about the whole year with injuries, and we kind of were worried, what will he look like this year with those injury issues? Will he be dependable and durable? And when he is, what will his quality look like? Yeah, very high is what the quality's going to look like. He's tied for the league leading goals with Jovic with 5. And, it's not as simple to say that the Red Bulls attack looked impotent last year just because Lewis Morgan wasn't there. but myself and many others definitely downplayed his importance to this team. This attack makes a lot of sense with as long as Morgan is playing like this. A three-headed monster of Morgan, Vanzier, who I still refuse to give up my real estate on Vanzier Island here, and led by Emil Forsberg. If Emil Forsberg is the talisman, which he has been to start the season, but then they can lean on Morgan and Vanzier, or if somebody goes cold, they'll have those options. They still could sign a DP forward. Again, the Timo Werner interest is real. I don't know if that'll actually happen. There's a lot of things that can happen between now and the summer, but this team is legitimately good. And Lewis Morgan is a big reason why, because they needed more quality in the attack. It looked so bad last year. And again, Sandro Schwartz deserves a lot of credit as well. He's changed the way that the team has played. It was miserable under Gerhard Struber. Troy Lezane took some steps forward when he was head coach for the rest of the year. But Lewis Morgan, welcome back. One more quick Red Bulls note. Happy birthday to Julian Hall, who turned 16 on Sunday. On Saturday, he was still 15 and thus was still subject to New Jersey child labor laws. Yes, he was unable to make the bench for most of the season because in New Jersey, child labor laws say that minors under 16 years old cannot work past 7 p.m., I believe. And all of the Red Bulls games kicked off after that at home this year, prior to this. So again, he turned 16. This won't be an issue anymore, but it was a pretty fun, unique quirk. I was speaking with Julian Hall after the game, and it was funny listening to, again, a 15, 16-year-old kid talk about this. It was like, in your dreams, I'm sure you've had this goal to be professional. You've been working towards this. Again, you made your first team debut last year. All of this, I was like, did it ever cross your mind that it wouldn't really that sometimes it might not just be your ability, it might be the start of the game? And he laughed. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna be honest, it wasn't ideal. It's like not something that I really ever considered would be a hindrance to my development, or my hindrance to whether or not I could break into the first team. But again, it was all lighthearted. He laughed about it. He was like, I'm not gonna lie to you. I was looking forward to today when I got the schedule, when I saw that the game was going to be in the afternoon. I saw it was going to be against Miami. I was available for selection, and it's just funny that, 15, now a 16-year-old kid had to think about that. He came off the bench. He equipped himself well, and then he went on his 16th birthday. He scored a goal for the Red Bull second team. So again, he's no longer subject to worrying about start times and whether or not he can be on the field. But it's just a fun little quirk here that I heard about this like a month ago, and I was talking to people at the Red Bulls. I was like, "Are you serious?" They're like, "Yeah, dude, it's really unfortunate for him, but again, not a long-term problem, and not a common problem. There's not going to be a ton of 15-year-olds that are breaking into the first team." MLS 5-a-side number 4. Philadelphia and Orlando get much-needed first wins of the season. We'll start with Orlando. Just what the doctor ordered. Austin FC coming in on the road. Orlando dominated. They won 2-0. Really wasn't that close. Again, Nico Ladero had a very, very nice free kick. Jack Lynn scored the opening goal. They won the XG battle 1.87 to 0.16. Austin never really threatened. Mason Stadjuar kept a clean sheet. Everything was much needed. The attack needed to create chances. The defense really needed just a clean sheet and a ho-hum game where there wasn't catastrophic errors. Kyle Smith is playing at defensive midfield as they kind of shuffle around over the international duty, and they did this last week as well. So, well done to Orlando. They really, really needed this. I'm super interested that Oscar Pereira played with two strikers without Duncan McGuire there. That was Jack Lynn and Luis Muriel. So it gives me more thought that maybe McGuire and Muriel are going to play together more than we thought. I don't know if this is because of the system or if this is because of personal preference, but I'm a little bit worried that Luis Muriel is not getting into dangerous areas in the box. Like it's good for him to have freedom and drift around so he could find the game. And again, he can be a special player. So kind of let him find special moments. But that's coming at the cost of him being in prime goal scoring positions a lot more than a DP center forward should be. And again, I don't know if this just happens to do with playing with McGuire or Lynn, or this is what he's being told to do, or if this is just what he prefers. But if I was the coaching staff, I'd be drilling all week like, Muriel, yeah, we want you to impact the game. We want you to get in the ball. We want you to be comfortable and do things off script. But you got to get in the box more. We need you for higher up in the final third to make good on your ball striking and finishing ability. Philadelphia Union got their first win. It was a big one on the road against the Portland Timbers. They won 3-1. Julian Carranza had a very good game. He scored twice. It was already 3-0, but good news, little consolation for the Timbers is that new DP forward. Jonathan Rodriguez made his debut. He scored his first goal. The Timbers looked good, but let's focus on the Union. This was just what they needed. It's been disappointing to start the season, obviously. They have not looked very good. Even in this game, they conceded a lot of chances, and if Portland if they were more ruthless, if they were better in their attacking moments, they would have won, or it would have been much more difficult for the Union. But look, worry about that over the next few weeks. Just really big for them to get these 3 points and start moving forward. And again, in Eastern Conference, that's going to be extremely competitive. Every point is going to be vital, particularly for a team with aspirations to climb back up to the top 4 after this slow start. Something interesting that I thought on the Portland side of things, Phil Neville had this quote after the game, and I'm going to tell you why I liked it so much, is that Neville goes, "Who is the better footballing side? I thought we were by far, but it's not always about technical abilities. It's about mentality to win games of football. It's about doing the dirty work well. I felt our mentality in trying to win the game was lacking." So he could have very easily been like, we were the better team, blah, blah, blah. It was a good performance, like whatever, we need to get better. And pretty much spun it as, yeah, we lost, but we played well, and if we play like this, we're going to win. I don't love that after these games. Again, there's a time and a place for that. But, I mean, if you're a regular watcher of these videos, you've heard me rail against Caleb Porter. Has done that way too much. There's a few coaches who do that way too much. Like, oh, we were the better team. I'm like, that feels like there's no accountability. And, like, yeah, that's cool. You're the better team. You pass the ball around a little bit better. Like, you lost, like, right? Like, it's not that simple, but sometimes I get sick of the process over results. At some point, the results have to matter. So what I liked from Neville here is that while he pointed to, yeah, I thought we were better, but he was pretty much like that. Yeah, that doesn't matter because our mentality was bad. And that is such a big part of winning games. Like, look at the United States, Mexico. They got trampled by Mexico in Berhalter's first meeting with them back in 2019, the last time that Mexico beat the United States. And direct quotes to come from that, and they spoke. Some of the players spoke to this last night. They were like, yeah, like we knew that we needed to match the intensity. Like, doesn't matter if we're playing well or if we're playing pretty soccer. Like, if we're not matching the intensity, if we're not earning the right to play that, if we don't have that right mentality, it doesn't really matter. And I think that's what Neville was talking about here. Like, there's a lot positive to take away for the Timbers in terms of the way that they played and the chances they created. And again, Jonathan Rodriguez scoring on his debut, everything else. But, like, it doesn't matter if you're weak mentally, if you don't earn the right to play. And I'm not suggesting that they are weak mentally. Again, everybody has an off day finishing. Everybody, you could have 95% of your intensity, and that 5% could be the difference, right? Like, so this isn't indicative of what this team is about, because Neville has focused on this through the preseason, and because immediately in this game he's focusing on it here. And again, like, he could have very easily been like, we played better, whatever, all this. Like, he's like, no, like, we weren't good enough. Our mentality was bad. We didn't earn the right to win, and we didn't. So that was a quote that I like. All right, MLS 5-a-side number 5, Fidel Barajas arrives. He had 2 assists in Real Salt Lake's 2-1 win over the Vancouver Whitecaps. Former RSL fan favorite, club legend, maybe, kind of, Damir Kreilach scored against his old team. But the story here is about Fidel Barajas, a 17-year-old. He could have been at the United States Youth International camp this weekend, but he decided to stay with Real Salt Lake because there was a good chance he was going to play, and Pablo Mastroeni rewarded him with a start. He was the 6th player in MLS history to have multiple assists in a game at age 17 or younger. Here's what Pablo Mastroeni had to say after the game. The young man's got a great future. He's got a lot to learn, but I think it's a great start for a young player who just joined our group and has really taken it upon himself. He joined this winter from the Charleston Battery. He was the USL Young Player of the Year in 2023. He is the best the best prospect to come out of the USL since Diego Luna and Josh Widener. Josh Widener is playing for Benfica right now. Barajas played for Mexico at the U17 World Cup. He's still eligible for the United States national team. He would need to file a one-time switch. I assume that he's going to be in camps at some point in the future, like he could have been this month, just to, decide where he wants to spend his international future. Both federations should be fighting over this kid, and they are. Both federations want this kid. I'm impressed that he's started to impact games already. Even before this, he was, making a little bit of an impact off the bench. Diego Luna was awesome last year, the second half of last year in particular for Real Salt Lake. And Barajas is going to get compared to Luna often because they're 2 attacking players that came through the USL into Real Salt Lake. Pablo Mastroeni, it took him a little while to trust Luna, to let him make it there. And again, like, this weekend was a bit easier for Barajas because they weren't that many options to start, and there weren't but he took this chance. It took Luna longer to really get a chance like this and to really take it with both hands. So it's very impressive that at a younger age, earlier in his RSL career, Barajas has settled in and fit well. And again, this isn't a knock on Diego Luna whatsoever. He's a really great player too, but I'm just comparing these two players. It's not easy to do what Fidel Barajas did this weekend and how quickly he's kind of integrated in this team. He played really, really well in preseason from what I saw and how much into the first team he was. This is a really big talent. I think he's got a big future, and what a first start. All right, that'll do it for today. MLS 5-a-side week 5. We are rolling through this season. We are a couple months away from the chaotic summer where there's going to be games every day, seemingly, between MLS, Euros, Copa America, players in and out for international duty, summer transfer window, all that stuff. We got CONCACAF Champions Cup coming back soon. U.S. Open Cup craziness. Never a slow time around these parts. So enjoy a few midweek days without games while you can.